Computer. Okay. Well, welcome everybody to the Cascade team leadership meeting tonight. We're excited to have you. We've got a fun agenda tonight. In other words, it's mainly going to be your topics that we're covering. So as we discussed a little bit earlier, what we were wanting to look at is what are the leadership challenges that you're facing, and to come prepared to share some of those. As we're kind of jumping into that, I was thinking about leadership, and I was thinking about you guys, and we have a lot of next generation leaders here, and I think that's pretty cool, because all it means in next generation is you're that next ones that are coming up. And I had the privilege of about 15 years ago working with one of the top leaders in America on this book, Andy Stanley. At that time, he was leading one of the toughest organizations out there that I think he can lead, and that's a church of about 12,000 people. He was probably, from my estimation, and I got to work with a few other top leaders out there, guys like John Maxwell and stuff. To me, he was the top leader that I ever saw actually in action, and one that groomed next generation leaders, much like the senior manager team is really wanting to do with all of you guys. And we also recognize that some of you maybe even now are leading at some very, very, very high levels. So it's really fun to watch that participation. Well, I did watch Andy Stanley apply this over the course of years, and he grew his organization from probably 12,000 to now I think it's about 40,000 people. The couple of things, and this flows right into really one of the first questions we're going to look at tonight that you guys posed. What he brings out is there's 5 main traits of a next generation leader, and that first one is competence. The second one is courage, and I really like that part of courage. You can't really be a leader if you're afraid to step out and to take some chances and to be bold with leading towards vision that a corporation or that a company or that your department or whatever would have. You also need to have clarity. Even when you don't know all the answers, you need to be clear. People do not like to follow leaders that don't have a sense of clarity to them. The one that we're kind of focusing on a little bit tonight is coaching. Coaching is something that every leader should have themselves, and something that every leader should also be looking to do with other people. You're coaching people, but you're also being coached, and you need to be coached by somebody that's willing to invest into you, that's willing to spend time, see you in action, and then give you some guidance on that. And I know some of the people, Bill, I think you've been even using a leadership coach here recently. So it never ends with that whole coaching protocol. And then the last one is really, to be a good leader, you have to have character. If you have low character, nobody's going to want to follow. It's not going to lead people where they want to go. So I was looking at that, and we kind of got into our very first question on there. And it's, what are the leadership, the character traits that separate a leader from a boss? And I thought that was a great one. I listed that up there as by Jay. I'm going to stop it on a screen share and put us kind of all back into another mode. So what is it that you guys feel, and this is where now you can just unmute yourself and jump in, and maybe some of the other leaders on here have some ideas as well. What are some traits that you think separate a boss from a leader? And I guess, so I just need anybody to unmute and go.
I think a leader is more of someone who wants to inspire other people, to inspire their team into action. And a boss is someone that wants to tell their people what to do.
Excellent. That's great. Great comment. Other ideas?
A leader is willing to do what's asked of us. So if we're asked to do cleaning, a leader should be the first one to get cleaning versus just standing there saying, okay, you go clean this, and then you just sit there and watch. Like, a leader leads by example.
Exactly. Very good. Very good.
This is Scott. I believe a leader is part of a team and builds a team and is part of the group, as opposed to a boss is maybe more into the power of it and tries to send his soldiers out without him being part of the group. So I think you need to build a team around you as a leader, as opposed to just bossing people around.
Great. Good comments.
And I think Jordan from Fisher's Landing was the one who brought this topic up. Jordan, are you on here at all? He might be, but he might not be able to hear or speak through his phone. So I'm just curious to see why he had brought that up and what
Hey, can you hear me?
Good that is.
There you are.
Oh,
there's
perfect.
Jordan, are you floating right now?
I'm at a cryo session right now, so I'm kind of in the big refrigerator.
That's
I
impressive.
scheduled it before I realized I was going to be at the call. Anyway, I'm sorry, what was the question again? I misplaced my headphones for a second.
So I believe you were the one who had mentioned this topic. Is that right?
I was, yeah.
Okay, and so what obstacle are you having within this topic?
To be honest, it wasn't so much of an obstacle, just so much as I think when Bill had asked me, as far as kind of some thoughts that I had, I think that it was just a good trait for kind of a group discussion.
Gotcha. Awesome.
It wasn't so much of an obstacle. I think that, I think kind of everyone put it out a good way. The difference between a boss and a leader is so many different traits. And I think a good way to put it is, a boss kind of, like you guys said, goes from the back and just kind of tells people what to do, whereas the leader leads from the front and really tries to lift the other ones that they are leading around them to eventually be able to, if they chose to, take their spot. That's, I think, how good a leader should be able to train the people that are around them.
Awesome. I love it.
Other comments, other thoughts on the difference between, has anybody here worked for somebody that you identify in the boss category? I mean, they really functioned as a boss versus a leader. And then, maybe you've seen that juxtaposition with a good leader. And a leader doesn't have to be just the ultimate person that's guiding. There's different tiers as well, leadership in even Cascade and in different size organizations.
I have experienced that for sure. When I worked at East the first time with Cascade, I had Erica Hartley, and she was very much a leader. And then I left for a couple years and worked.
Right.
Sorry, someone tried to call in. But then I worked for a different company, and the gal I worked for was very much a boss and just told me what to do while sitting there. And so I saw those two different examples of how, and I knew based off of Erica what a leader is, and I learned leadership skills from her during my time there. And then I learned what not to do at my last job.
That's great. Yeah. Good. Well, maybe I'll go ahead and take us to the next question. Those are some really great comments, and that's definitely one worth us continuing to look at. And I think there's a lot of books, there's a lot of things we can read on how to improve as truly a leader, a team leader, a servant leader, and so forth. So let's keep that topic alive. I'm going to head back to the next topic, and I've got it right here so I can remember exactly what it was. Here we go. So in this leadership challenge, this was brought out by Katie, thoughts and guidance to better handle, I got something in my way here and I can't really see it. Sorry. To better handle staff that proved to be stubborn with things like name tags, willing to cover shifts, clock in and out, and so forth. So some thoughts and guidance to better handle situations and staff that proved to be a bit stubborn, if you will. So feel free to jump in on that as well, Katie. I think you posed that one for us as well.
Yeah. Kind of grew out of, I'm sure we've all run into it, but, people wanting shifts covered, but they don't want to cover shifts. We're left in a bind with staffing, short staff, hours. you know, having the conversation, hey, where's your tag? Hey, where's your name tag? You know,
Uh-oh. Sorry, I just lost you there. Let's see here.
was I muted?
I think so. What you must be on a different phone than I thought you were. I muted some noise and it turned out to be you. I'm sorry. Start over on that, would you please?
Yeah, no. So, you know, that question slash kind of frustration or struggle grew from, you know, having the staff that want coverage but don't want to cover or help out, you know, their teammates, or, you know, hey, where's your name tag? Where's your name tag? You know, day in and day out, like it's an expectation that you're wearing your name tag, or being in uniform, or just, you know, simple things that, or things that seem like they're not simple, but really kind of really at the end of the day impact your job and your team at the, you know.
Right. So what are some ideas on that, folks?
I actually have a thought. So those simple things, as stubborn as people can be, if we let those things go and and it's hard for us to manage it, or it's difficult for us to manage it because of the people that we have on our team, it's going to just bleed out to the rest of the team. So if one person doesn't wear their name tag and we don't somehow create that expectation with them and manage that process, then it's going to be okay for the next person. And it's just going to be this domino effect. I have found it to be successful to create the expectation, make sure they know the expectation, going to step 2. If they're not following that basic job expectation, restating it, making it super simple, no, no biggie. And then those conversations elevate, and it doesn't need to be an expectation of productivity or something really big. It can be really small, as wearing your name tag and being a team player. And once we get to a point where, gosh, we've had enough conversations, my tone has changed, they know I'm pretty serious about this, then I think that we have to make that decision. Are they right for our team? Are they building this department to be a better department? And if not, then let's go ahead and find some folks that are willing to do those basic job expectations. And not to sound harsh, but let's coach them out. Either coach them up, coach them out, try to coach them up first. And if they don't want to be coached up, let's go ahead and start to coach them out. And what stinks about that seems like a really long, struggling process. Like, it's a lot easier to keep those folks, right? Because they're trained, they know what to do. Hiring somebody else on is really daunting. But if you can imagine this dream of having a dream team, and they can perform all basic job expectations, they are coming into work and really driving home your intention for that department, we can all get there, but we do have to work towards that.
Great. Good thoughts.
Yeah. You know, the things like name tags, or, you know, answering the phones correctly, but how, like, what are some suggestions for, you know, like you said, being a team player for, you know, Joe over here has had, you know, X amount of shifts covered and has covered, you know, like, is there a way that we can create a policy as a company to make it so, you know, or just an expectation? Like, how do we set that? Because it's, you know, that we can't force people to work, but, you know, I don't know.
Maybe there can be like a reciprocal sort of policy. Like, if you keep asking for a certain amount of shifts covered, then you need to be willing to do that for someone else if they need it, because you've asked for so much help. And I get that certain situations are a little bit different. Like, if you have a family emergency come up and you need to be gone for a while, and then that's unexpected. But like, if someone else needs that same sort of help, that you might be more willing because you are empathetic of the situation. So maybe there needs to be some type of, like, just I don't know, like a just reciprocity sort of deal.
Yeah.
I would like to add to that. I think what would be helpful too, and what I've used a little bit as well, is that if there's someone on the team already that really buys into all the rules, as we all should, anytime there's a situation, it can be like a learning moment. And so I've done this myself, where there was a rule that one of the trainers was like, her client was upset about a rule and the trainer was siding with her, and I stepped in later, not in the situation, the moment later, and told that trainer, here's why that rule's in place, to kind of like show her, yes, your clients, I understand where she's coming from, but here's why that's in place. And like really getting them on board with not necessarily their team leader or boss per se, but just another employee that buys in fully to all that we expect of them, to kind of like, hey, by the way, this is why that rule's there. Don't you think that's a good idea? I think that's a good rule for this X, Y, and Z reason. Having it more of a friendly conversation versus coming from the quote unquote leader or boss, just another employee that kind of might be someone that, like Katie, maybe someone on your team that is like solid in all of the things, can be that person that's like, hey, here's why we have that rule, and and make it more of a friendly conversation versus shaming them or telling them what to do. Does that make sense?
100%. Yeah.
I think maybe.
Well, guys, go ahead, Jordan.
I think maybe if you're having a problem with somebody that is obviously not wanting to work as much as they said they were in the beginning, is really just seeing why it is that they wanted the job in the first place, and maybe just bringing them back as to why they went to that job interview, and kind of understanding that if they're getting that day off, somebody else was not, and maybe they had something important that they needed to plan that day, but because they had to come in and sub to that person, they're no longer able to do that.
I like that idea. That's kind of put the shoe on the other foot, so to speak. I like that.
Well, my suggestion, guys, and that's exactly what this meeting is for, is that this message comes from not just one person or two people. Let's make it company-wide. All these people that are on this call tonight kind of make this an effort, and start with knowing, or at least accepting, that these people want to do the best they possibly can, and they just maybe need a little bit of nudge. So expect good things from people, make light of it, but still celebrate those that do it around those that maybe don't, so that they get the idea that we really, that's something we hold dear to our culture, and just everybody stay consistent with it, help and do it in the best and nicest way possible, so that maybe they just need a little nudge. Maybe it's not as volatile as it could be. That would be my suggestion.
Bill, I think that's great. Just kind of tagging on that, one of the things I've seen since working at Cascade is we work with a lot of really great people. We draw a lot of great people, and it's been really fun. Clarity, again, go back to on the leadership topic of a next generation leader. Really, clarity, being clear in what expectations are, is at the foundation of that. Consistency of that structure of what those expectations are. And then when somebody doesn't follow through with that, to lean towards a positive, towards a corrective nature, and then step it up, stay consistent with that movement of what you call from verbal to written, whatever those processes need to be. And it's probably going to be very rare when you have somebody that really is not going to follow the guidelines. I've only, in all the time that I've managed at Cascade, had one person that didn't stay with it and want to do that. Hey guys, what do you think about, we'll hit one more topic here that we've got listed. Let me get that share so I can remember exactly what that topic is. And so one of the questions that was out there was on collaboration. How to get time, energy, and effectiveness as a team. How do we get time, energy, and effectiveness as a team in a collaborative type environment? How do we collaborate in these types of leadership things? Any thoughts on that for collaboration?
Is the question, what's a good way to get people together to be able to collaborate, Doug?
I think that that one is based on because let's see, is if the person on here is on here who posted that one?
That was Doug. That was from Heidi.
Heidi, right? Okay. So
She's
I
not
think
here.
she loves collaborating with people. I think it has to do with how do we get people together? How do we find time to do that to become more effective? Those types of things. And maybe for this context, what are some things that we think we'd be better at if we did work in a collaborative nature?
You know, I think the answer for me, Doug, is this format with the Zooms is awesome. I think it's easy for people to pop in. It's easier than trying to get everybody's schedules lined up perfectly to meet in person. And especially if we can get people to engage, just like this group is, it's pretty effective and pretty easy to be able to connect with people that would be a lot harder to try to do in person during a workday.
Right.
Yeah, I agree with that. And just, having these for different situations. Like Teresa and I are working on implementing programs or helping plan programs, like jumping on and, giving us ideas or, things like this, or yeah, mostly programs is where my mind is. Sorry, but just kind of getting input from multiple sides, and the social media advocates team too. Doing that and sharing. What do we want our focus to be for May? Those kind of things. I think these Zoom calls are super rad.
Good.
I think I would add one thing to this question would be, go seek it out. Don't wait for somebody to come to you. Go seek it out. Go ask somebody's opinion about anything you want to implement, anything you want to bring in. Get buy-in after they get a chance to weigh in. And that would be my suggestion in this.
Good point. Yeah, and maybe I could point to Teresa a little bit. I think, Teresa, you have been absolutely phenomenal at promoting collaboration, and we were even talking about how we're going to make a shift even in our marketing efforts that are coming up for the summer, where we're going to be promoting some of the programs even in our mailers that are going out, about 50,000 of them. So we're going to flood you guys like you can't believe. So it's probably good for you guys to know that I'm doing that, right? That's what I call collaboration. But that's because we know what you guys have going on. So Teresa, what are some of your thoughts on collaboration?
Really kind of what Bill just said. If I plan something and I want a certain result, which whatever it might be, I can't do it by myself. And I know that. And so I do have to build a team, and by building a team and around me, and if they can understand what how it benefits them, and how they can contribute, and the impact that they make to the greater good, then it's easier to get buy-in from them. And if you build that team around you, that strong team that wants to buy in into this end result that you have created, then it makes the process so much easier. And so I think collaboration really is just trying to share your vision with as many people as possible, and figuring out, when you're sharing that vision with other people, what can they do to help you. And so yeah.
That's great. Fantastic. Great words. Well, folks, we're down to about 2 minutes left. I want to make sure that I give anybody that has something serious on their mind or some comments on that to jump in before we wrap this up. So just unmute yourself if you got something you want to say.
I had a question that I sent to Bill, and it was about how we can match work ethic in departments, or even all the departments, because I feel like a lot of times maybe some of the younger staff, or just some staff in general, they don't seem to maybe get all their tasks done, or done as well as is expected of them. And I just don't know how to get most people to be on that same level of work ethic.
is a good question. And I think there's probably a lot of ideas we can go on with that one. Does anybody have something that they wanted to comment on for Jessica?
I think that's a hard one, Jess. I truly do.
Yeah, definitely.
Because work ethic is somewhat subjective, right? So somebody's work ethic versus somebody else's work ethic, how do you differentiate the two? And it's all based on somebody's perspective. So I do feel like it can be subjective.
I guess it's about holding a standard.
The hard part.
Yeah.
We do. Like our cleaning or like our performance or like whatever. I feel like, I mean, there's at least a minimal standard. And I feel like a lot of times it's not met in certain areas. And it's just, it's hard to relay that sometimes with maybe some of the newer staff, or because there is a bit of a turnover pretty frequently, it's hard to like keep getting that same standard like passed down when maybe some of the now like vet staff are still pretty new and just they might not have learned everything at that point, and they're teaching the new people what they only know at that point, and it just kind of dominoes from there, and it's just kind of learned at that point. So
I think that for me, like finding out what motivates people, what motivates people to want to do better. Is it, that recognition in front of their, their team? Is it, a one-on-one person, conversation? Even just, just like a extra, hey, I know you're doing, X, Y, Z, either, looking to them to be a leader. I know girl in the kids club who ho-hum, and I started, really encouraging her and trying to, find out what really pushed her to do better. And then she just blossomed. And then I was able to, sit down with her and say, these are the expectations when you're training, X, Y, and Z, when you're having somebody shadow you, can I put you in more of a lead position? And she just flourished there. She, her being kind of having that trainer status kind of made her feel like, okay. And so she was more willing to put forth the effort to do better in her job because that's how she was motivated. And then just setting the expectation of like, who and what is going to be training who, not just having kind of your, hate to say it, but like your B-lifters training new staff, but making sure that you're really intentional about who's surrounding our new folks. I think that'll make more of an impact from, for the long run.
Right. I agree. And it's like, if we have to invest in those newer people so they can become leaders, because you can't expect someone to invest all that they have in their work or their place of work if we're not investing in them a bit too, whether it's our time or a little bit of our heart or training. And like Katie said, like what makes them tick, what makes them excited. Like a lot of people's work ethic comes from their childhood. Like we're raised a certain way, right? So we got to kind of break down to what makes them tick, invest in them so they can in turn invest in this company and this family.
Good comments. Excellent.
Hey guys, this is Scott. One of the things I learned that I made mistakes on early on in my management, and I probably still do, is that you have to celebrate the positive stuff in a very, very broad and very outgoing, and talk with the members, talk with the staff, and really celebrate the positive. And then you got to do all of the negative in-house. You got to do that in an office or in a little private, hey, can you do me a favor type of situation. It's really hard to not kind of jump on somebody that hasn't been following the rules or doing his part of the work. But if we celebrate all that cleaning and celebrate all those behaviors that we really love, and then we take people aside and coach them up in private, you'll be surprised that eventually those people really want you to celebrate something for them, and they've earned their trust, and they get better and better.
Wow. Hey, great comments, everybody. Say, you know what, Jessica Ho, you brought out a great topic there, and I'm going to mute a couple people here. Such a great topic that I think we're going to want to come back in and hit that one more time as we move into the next time. This was such a strong session. We're going to call this one Leadership Wisdom. We're going to end this one with Brian in his car. So anyway, hey, everybody. I'll give us a gallery view. Thank you, everybody. Great participation tonight. And it's just a little bit past 8 o'clock. So we want to thank you for your time, and we'll see you again next time.